his team on what areas we'd like to talk about. Spray applied rejuvenators was really a top, head and shoulders above the other areas of discussion. And the other one was kind of MnDOT or DOT pavement management decision trees. So what we're going to try and do is split this up into like 2 30-minute sessions, or maybe I think I know we probably got a little more to talk about the spray applied rejuvenators, and then get into some of the decision tree discussions on how we get the treatments. So from the spray applied rejuvenators, I've just got one slide here to summarize kind of what MnDOT's doing in there, and specifically rejuvenators. That's a real short story. But products that we're typically working with is, here's MnDOT doing this tag code. It's probably almost always the CSS 1H that we're using for tag when paving. When we do quad sealing, we've got a CSS 1H. It's diluted 1 part emulsion and 1 part water that we quad seal on top of the chip seal. So when we shoot MnDOT always quad seals all our chip seals. We shoot at about 1/10 of a gallon, 800 to 1/10 of a gallon of that 1-to-1 CSS 1H. So it's coming in there, 300 of a gallon per square yard of actual asphalt. We do some quad sealing of shoulders. That's we use our CRS 2P diluted. That's what the D is there for. CRS 2P product is what MnDOT uses for all our chip sealing. When we do use it to quad a shoulder, it's got 3 parts emulsion to 1 part water, just to give us a little more viscosity. We do not have a spec for any type of rejuvenators, and there's really, most MnDOT specs is 2 parts. It's kind of the application and construction spec, and then the material spec. And I think somewhat the spec, start specking out all the different rejuvenators would be interesting, difficult, not quite impossible, but maybe we're close. So we don't have any spec for the spray applied sealers. We do have a lot of different rejuvenators, or a few being used by cities and counties. I think it's one of the agricultural-based products that's getting a lot of use around Minnesota and some of the cities. A lot of it's, they're even talking about maybe manufacturing some because of all the soybean we have around here in Minnesota. So a lot of discussions on rejuvenators, but not a lot of activities. And one thing I think that's might have slowed down rejuvenator usage a little, and especially at MnDOT's level, is that I think our chip seals from a cost and performance standpoint have been very good surface treatments. So we've done a lot of chip sealing, price per square yard, I guess about 85 neighborhood right now. So, and we also get really great friction with the chip seals. So we're going to get into just a quad seal rejuvenator type product that's going to come in somewhere over a buck a square yard and lower your friction for a little bit maybe during the first couple of weeks. I think that's kind of been what the rejuvenators, spray applied sealers, have been up against in Minnesota. During the NCAT Minroad test partnership, where we've got a bunch of test sections up by north central Minnesota. Working with NCAT, we did a high volume and low volume, where we use both CSS 1H and rejuvenating quad on those roads. They did drop the friction a little bit initially. It came back, and I think actually the rejuvenating quad was slightly lower than the CSS 1H. Those were both actually put down with a sanding operation to help with the initial quad. So that's kind of where MnDOT is are the spray flag sealers, and Rob Green from Michigan DOT is going to give you a quick summary on what they're doing.
Thanks, Jerry. I don't have a slide. I guess to sum it up, Michigan, we're not diving headfirst into the rejuvenators at this point in time. We're still kind of looking to evaluate them, kind of based upon some of the stuff that Jerry had up there. We do look at using fog seals with our single chips. So we are into using that as a standard practice in that regard. But as for other spray rejuvenators, last year we had a project on an interstate that we were actually evaluating a handful of different types, whether they're like a joint adhesive, like a J-band was one of the products, another product similar to that, and then also a spray application on the top of the pavement on that longitudinal joint. I have not had a chance to get back down to that pavement section yet to kind of see how those are performing. I know we intentionally took some cores on those joints as well to kind of better evaluate, are we truly getting a benefit from these products. This year we, again, are looking at a couple different projects utilizing some of these materials. Again, the spray adhesive that you would put on that jointed face from the first mat that you apply. We've got a project down in our metro region that we're going to be using that on, again, evaluating. And then in our northern lower Michigan area, we're going to try the spray again as well. Both of which we're looking at to kind of address that issue of the longitudinal joint. In Michigan, yes, we have specs to kind of help address longitudinal joint density. However, over time, I mean, we're still finding that longitudinal joint will start to open up on us. And we're just looking for different tools in the toolbox to kind of help address that one. Another application that we've been wanting to experiment with on where to use rejuvenators. So Michigan DOT did jump in head first, like we just jumped right in on centerline corrugations and rumbles. And we already know that, that pavement joint is the weakest spot in the pavement, and here we are grinding these rumbles, exposing it, and helping to open that up. So we're looking at maybe experimenting with either just putting a straight fog seal or maybe some of these spray applied rejuvenators on these rumbles to kind of try to give it some type of seal to help us hold that pavement together, see how it performs. I know there's a little bit of a concern with the spray on lowering your skid numbers for a short period of time, but to my understanding, they do come back. But right now, that's where we're at. We've got a couple special provisions that we kind of hold in central office, work with our regions. If there's a specific project we identify that it makes sense, we try to inject them into the project. But outside of that, like I said, we're still kind of feeling them out, trying to see where they best fit and how we can better utilize them. However, it kind of sounds like Phil, Missouri might have a little bit more experience in application with them, so we can hear what Phil has to say.
Good afternoon. I just want to start off, I appreciate you having the invite to this meeting. It means a lot to me. We're going to talk about rejuvenators, but realistically, I want to start somewhere different. To give you why that's relevant, I'm in maintenance. I'm a pavement specialist in maintenance in the St. Louis metro area. So a lot of research, a lot of stuff goes through Jeff City. It doesn't necessarily come down to me. But why is that important? Because I'm in maintenance. At the end of every year, we have leftover dollars because we spend a lot, we budget a lot for snow. We didn't have a lot of snow lately in Missouri. So we have a lot of slush fund money left. We call that the annual results. So what I've done, we didn't know, anything about rejuvenators per se. I went to the conference in Nashville in 2012 and I started talking to some people about this. And Dr. Brown gave a presentation. These rejuvenators, this isn't new stuff. This has been around for 50 years. So why do we care now? And the answer quite simply from the district is money. As you recall, we had an asset management plan, if you don't forgive me for let me teach you, dictated by the federal government. I have to touch a certain number of miles, I have a plan, I have a battle plan. But I don't have any revenue stream that's increasing, especially in my area. We have a flat and not negative increase in revenue. So I got to look outside the box. So I guess to answer the question of why rejuvenators are important to me, and then we'll get to the actual research of it. The answer is I'm forced. I've got to do something. But as I mentioned earlier, as part of the Pavement Preservation Partnership, it's got to be the right road, the right time, all those rights. So, where are we? We, in the state, in my district only, have done 5 projects with rejuvenators, verified rejuvenators. We put them on 5 different roads. And now it's just right road. But we learned. Now, again, why? I can't let me say the word why, because it's really important to me. That's why we have to have a little bit of research. So in 2016, you can open it up, we began to talk to Jeff City about starting a research project to get some of these answers out. What about friction? What about pen? What about this? Does it matter? We can put this up. So we developed an object. We got common goals and objectives. Any good research projects give you common goals and objectives. Interesting sidebar, when we first proposed to do this, there was pushback from industry. And the pushback from industry said, we really need a third party detached to really run the show. So then, all right, fine, we'll start put together an RFP. We'll click on the you are right now. Put together an RFP, send it out to bid. We got some people come back from ARA. They're in the Champaign Urbana. So I stole their slides to show what their objectives were in their actual proposal. Because our RFP, they could have done them really long, a lot of words in them. Give me something short and simple. So as you can read up there, that's our objective. Actually, that's my objective. And how we can get to it down below. Next. So, battle plan. As laid down. The first time we got everybody together, we asked for the request. You'll notice those states were not sequential. Those couple step backs. So we got everybody together, we chose ARA out of Champaign, and they put together a proposal. We started putting stuff down. We started with a longitudinal chart, we get some photos there. But then we had a little bit, hold on a second, what if we do this across the way if we don't feel confident? So we got a bigger kickoff meeting, as you notice it's not sequential with industry. We actually let them come in, talk to ARA, us, and swap. We don't like this, we like to see this. So that's how we actually developed the whole research project, was with kind of a partnership with industry, with our consultant, with us, and we talked about what tests, and that will go shortly. Then we put it down, like I said before, we put it down on Route 30. It's a rural route along the centerline joint. Centerline Rumbles joint. We did that in the fall, and it got too cold. We just physically last Thursday put the rest of it down on Route N, which is St. Charles also, a rural area. So you're catching me a little bit early with results. I'm not very happy. But at least I'll lay out the line. Finally, what we got the bottom two, we're going to talk about the testing here shortly. And eventually, I want to see something tangible. In my job, I want a list, whether it be with a scatter diagram or whatever, that says, you know what, this stuff works, this stuff doesn't. And I have a pre-qual list. I'll just be able to write up a spec and say, if you're on the pre-qual list, you can use these products. Next. So this is what we're talking about. I'm not going to read every one of them. These are the particulars that ARA is using to judge, like better choice of words. The stuff that we were talking about before, they've taken all their reports in the field. They're going to do before and after. Next. I'm going to walk you through the process. I'm going to decide just follow with me. It goes without saying that when we have them out there to begin with, these are the tests that they're going to run before we touch it. Next. As I mentioned earlier, these are the 3 sections. We added an additional Route 52 in Morgan County, which is by Jefferson City, to also join us in the center line, and they just applied some of that stuff actually on Thursday this week. But those are our 2 areas. In our areas, next. It's going to run, so we assign everybody a special like research project. Everybody's anonymous, everybody's random, and then they'll be assigned their particular spot. This is the route, the other route, the 30 joint run, same thing. Everybody's assigned a spot. But to mention, I forgot to forgive me. We had 14 different people that wanted to play. So that's why you see all these particular numbers. So we did get quite a bit of response from industry, the people that wanted to participate. So that's the 30 stuff. We can find it. These are the people that chose to participate. We also have 2 control sections. So you've got people from, we had a guy coming all the way from Phoenix, we had some people coming in from the Northwest, and we had some people coming in from Ohio to put down their products. We've got 2 sets of animation. We got 2, quick, this is going to animate. We had 2 processes. They're either put down a single or a double. The single and the multi-step or a double is when they want to double the material put down twice. Why is it relevant? Because when you get down to it, we're going to include this in the research. We're talking about a little dry time, a little downtime. And that's something that maintenance is also interested in adding on this. How long did it take for that second to open up the track? Whereas does the single evaluate it? And I'll kind of touch on that at the end of the presentation. Next. This is what the actual ARA is doing. You can read it. It's just simple, standard research, making sure they step out every particular process. Everything's done the same. Everybody's photographed, video, and tested on site. You can see, of course, 52 the pattern movement is the appending range. That's just a little sidebar. So we got application path down. We got, another issue with sidebar. The stuff is particularly viscous. We pulled those paths a little bit earlier because we let them and they drain right through the paths. Next. Permeability test was a big sticking point, but we're going to stay with it. So we permed it before, we're going to perm it after. Next. After each one, friction. This is a big argument, and I'm not particularly comfortable with it either. Rejuvenators, spray apply, whatever you want to call it, or even steel coats, lose friction. I want to know how much. So we ran it at 4, we'll run it at 7, we'll run it at 30, and we'll run it at a year. See if it bounces back. That's going to be pretty much what I feel is the proof. If it doesn't bounce back, or it doesn't bounce back slowly, you can't put this stuff down on rows that have 40. Definitely not 30. You're going to start at 70 feet up. But how fast do they come back? Do they come back at all? I've looked around, I've only seen very many reports from one out of Ohio that talks about how fast they come back. So we're going to friction test, and we're going to do that this Friday. Next. Just more stuff that's just standing out. We'll measure all the cracks. There's the after, before and after. Everybody's seen that done. Next. That's what I kind of explained at the beginning. Ultimately, what I want as a district pavement specialist who lets contracts is the bottom. That's my mission. How do we assign these? Can we put these in pre-qual lists or PAL, or whatever you guys use in your terms? Basically saying, you know what? This stuff on the right of the diagram, the area will help determine that. We're going to call those surface sealers. We're going to call these rejuvenators. So when I set out a project, all I have to do is to mention this particular spec, and they'll go to these. That's my mission. But ultimately, how are they going to do it? Are they going to do what I want to do? Are they going to give me 3 years? Are they going to give me 1 year? Next. I got a couple, this is what I want to see. So this is the projects that were done in Ohio. So they actually developed a scatter diagram, put all the data on there, and you kind of, I don't know what that reminds me, forgive me, I don't have the actual numbers. Above this, below this, we're good. But you can notice right there, those are the skid numbers. I already have skid numbers from John Donahue, who ran them. I've got quite a few tests. I want to see how they look in 30 days and see if it goes up or down. Next. Question 2, how does the permeability change over time? I want to see that. Question 3, how does the surface distress change over time? Do these cracks actually heal? I've heard of healing pavement. I'm not on board yet. But I like to see it. So when they do their crack mapping, what 3/8 or less, and fix it? So we're going to get some information on that, where they actually look at every one of those sections and map the cracks after 30 days, after a year. Next. And question 4, I'll get with you. Can the distress be quantified? Is this stuff really work? And I'm hoping that all 4 of these things are going to be answered. Those are my big questions by the end of this research project. Next. life cycle cost, that's a pipe dream, but let's just throw that in the fund. Because I haven't been able to successfully get a life cycle cost in any of my projects. Next. So my final thoughts, I showed you a couple of pictures going around. The reason we did it is because we were cash strapped at the time, and we needed another alternative. And a lot of kids out there will be showing the rejuvenators, especially in Nashville, big conference. Yeah, let's quantify it. That's my goal. And my answer is, at the end of the project, in the districts will have a list that will actually be able to say, you know what, I'm going to put out a rejuvenator project, I'll choose the road, and the contractor, you go ahead and choose the rest. Because the 5 that we chose before, and have already done, were only done by one company. And that's what caused the lost spot. Next. You have any questions? I will not give you any data probably until next year, whoever gets started, asked to do this, we'll actually have it. But before I do, hold on. Yep. I also want you to consider, we may find out maybe not going. So we gotta manage our expectations. Mr. Sanger?
Are you going to doing 4, so when you do the friction at 30 and 1 year, just to verify the existence of that material still being present?
Yeah. I'm going to do it, not the contract. We talked about that last Friday, it's not in the request and proposals, so we're going to go ahead and order ourselves. And we're going to send it to the lab in California. Anyone else? I know it's moving, but it is what it is. Jerry? Would you like to have my decision here?
Does anyone, any of the other DOTs we haven't had out there want to mention what they're doing with rejuvenators or any products that are available out there?
Show of hands, anybody else using rejuvenators?
Well, I want to, I heard.
Pretty small ones in there.
My decision tree PowerPoint, it's got a link to the MnDOT webpage. So it's called Decision Tree Top Floor. Do we have internet in here that'll?
Do I have internet? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Then we'll see if it'll.
Oh, it's not good.
You ready, Jeff?
Left to be done in this area. I know a couple of our industry partners here have products, and we're really interested in trying them. And I think it's just so difficult in testing them and determining the right test. Because we've had discussions. I've seen a great slide on the difference between a softener and a rejuvenator. We don't want things that just make the pavement soft, we want to rejuvenate, so a lot of interesting work to be done here. And somewhat related, when Bob opened this for me, MnDOT's got a special provision for mastic products, but we really don't have a material spec for it because the products are different. So if you would find our mastic special provision, it would say use one of these products. And I think as we move forward along the rejuvenator line, I think it's going to say if you want to put down a spray applied rejuvenator, maybe possibly have some sand application behind it, it's going to say, use one of these products. The products are so different that spectrum could be somewhat difficult. Scroll down to the bottom. So this is our very big MnDOT bituminous decision trees. So the other discussion that we were interested in having today is on the decision tree and how do you get to the treatments. And it's a little difficult. You can see, so the preventive maintenance treatments are all in the green. I'm mainly focused in on, chip sealing, microsurfacing, treatments type of thing, and then we do some crack sealing up there. One thing, and sometimes for me it's a little easier to start at the end of the line, the end of the story, see where we're going. If you've made it all the way through the decision tree right above 50 there, it says ADT over 10,000. If you say no, we drop down to a chip seal, and if you've got higher than 10,000 ADT, the pavement management system would recommend microsurfacing. And kind of like the highlight, it's a recommendation, so then the district would look at the road and they could decide, you know, do I want to do a micro here, do I want to do a chip seal? It's the starting point. So if you want to scroll way up to the top, so we start up here, and actually the first one is, takes a little deciphering to get through there, but it's mainly what it's saying, too much load related distress. That's the first cut, and it's related to some surface cracking. There's I think some slight and severe type cracking things, and the way it's measured takes a lot of work to get through there, but just understand it's the load-related distress. So the first cut we got to say is no, we don't have any load-related distress. And then it is the RQI less than the trigger value. And if it's greater than the trigger value, we cut over to some of the thin overlays. But if we keep going down, is there running greater than 10%? No. It's kind of interesting, is the last rehabilitation a mill and overlay type project. If you did some mill and overlay, we're going to say you take a look at the crack ceiling or a mill and overlay. If it wasn't a mill and overlay, and here's another interesting point. I say, might have a point here. You want to slide down just a little more, Bob, on the is the pavement 7 years old? So it's an interesting aspect in the discussion that we have at MnDOT all the time is, you know, when's the right time to put a chip seal down? If you want to prevent aging, I'm going to say, I know, you got to do it right away. You got to do it if you're paving in the spring. You want to put the surface treatment down in the fall. If you know, pave in the fall, which we're typically doing, you need to chip seal in the spring. But if you want to stop the environmental type aging, the hardening of that binder, you need to chip seal really at year 0 or 1. And that did a big study with the Asphalt Institute that kind of looked at aging over different years. And I think the conclusion they came up with there is you need to seal it right away. The official MnDOT policy says, you know, you've got to do a hot mix asphalt pavement. We're going to wait till there's no distresses. We have good ride. Hey, it's 7 years old now. Now let's look at a chip seal or microsurfacing. So there's different types of things we need to consider here. What year you're going to do it. You'll get a little more aging when you do it later. It's going to then prolong the life later in the timing of that project. Another interesting aspect of the whole chip seal and microsurfacing program is that we like to use very good, durable, and somewhat expensive pavement markings. So if you want to put those pavement markings down on a new pavement surface, we're going to probably wait 5 or 6 years till those pavement markings are about done. We're not going to cover up, you know, brand new pavement markings at year 1. And so that type of timing, all of these decisions that happen within the district level, I really like what Phil had to say. You know, I'm a central office research position, so the decisions that made at the district level are out there with our district folks, and they need to balance. They're balancing so many things with their dollars and their programs and all the activities that the pavement management system does a great job of helping them narrow in on their first choice, and then they're going to have to look at the entire district, their network, and decide where they want to go. So new pavement, good ride, doesn't have distresses, wait till you're 7 years old, look at your traffic level, and go to a chip seal or microservice. I think somewhere within here too is that it says if your last treatment was a chip seal or micro, it wouldn't recommend a second one. And I think I've seen some sections of pavement even in the metro area. It was built new. We put a microsurface on it, I don't know, year 8, 9, and then 15. Pavement structures are designed for 20 years. We've got some pavements that are close to 20 years old. They're still in great condition. They've had 2 microsurfaces on them. So just from the easel standpoint of pavement design, you're starting good. At 20 years, you're out of easel type of discussion. So we've talked about, there's structural design, that's how you come up with your easels. And then there's the service life. And if 2 microsurfacings can get you past your 20-year structural design, and during most of those 20 years, you've been in good condition, now you've really got a great performing pavement. So I think one of the things that pavement management doesn't do is put a second kind of that preventive maintenance period like treatment on it. So that's kind of MnDOT's pavement management decision tree. I don't have any of the other DOTs linked up here, but if one of our other DOTs would like to kind of come up and just do a little discussion on what you do with your decision tree. John?
Can I ask a question first?
Yes.
So the running greater than 10%, is there a certain depth that you're looking for as a target?
John's question. I'm not sure if I'll be able to find it way over down the bottom, bottom right. So we got to keep going down. And I'm not sure, do you know what the running over 10%?
I want to say half inch, but don't hold me to that.
So,
It's somewhere out there.
Yeah, it is more than, 10% of that, I guess, lane mile over a half inch.
Okay.
And I would say, I would hope we don't get there too often, but I don't, pull up a lot of running data. I think we've done a real good job of reducing running. It's not the problem that we had years ago. Maybe a handful of nasty metro intersections like that. So that's where MnDOT's at. Is our preventive maintenance team, we did talk a lot about how we wanted to kind of deliver this last section, but one of the other DOTs like to kind of come up and tell us where you're at as far as sort of this decision tree and maybe how you get to like a chip seal or microsurfacing. Okay. Come on, thank you. Michigan DOT. Maybe I can go out and do some recruiting.
No, that's fine. So in Michigan, I guess we would have the decentralized approach as well, to where our regions, they know their networks better than we do in central office. We try our best to keep an eye on things. We have a pavement management group that's always constantly reevaluating things. So we have a manual out there. I'm going to talk primarily from the PM standpoint. That's my area. So we have a capital preventive maintenance manual that kind of lays out some PMS guidelines, whether it's distress index, IRI, and running values. And then we also use RSL as another metric. And within this manual, for each of our common fixes, so whether that be micro, chip seal, ultra thins, pave replace, we set up a series of there's different trigger levels for these different PMS data points. And so the regions go about, develop their candidate projects, and then central office kind of gets involved. For those of you who are at Midwest Partnership this last October in Traverse City, I do remember the question got asked, does any DOT or agency select projects just strictly based upon the PMS data, or is there somebody putting a set of eyes on it? So are we to this point where we're using this engineer in a box? And from my recollection, nobody says that they go strictly by the PMS data. And that's the same case for Michigan. So the regions select their projects based upon that criteria. Then we go and do the ever so fun van tours, which we're actually in the middle of. And we go out and we put a set of eyes on those projects. And again, this is where engineering judgment and our experience with some of these different fixes kind of come into play. While having a nice prescribed decision tree can be helpful, at the same time, experience and engineering judgment, I think, kind of comes into play on choosing the best fix for some of these roads. And so while we're looking at some of our candidates, they may be out in one parameter or another, say, for example, rutting. I'll pick on chip seals and rutting. What we found in Michigan is that we are a little more sensitive to that rutting value when we're considering a chip seal. Why? Because we found that sometimes that emulsion will kind of start to pool in those ruts, and then you have that potential of bleeding and flushing. So when we're out looking at these pavements and the region's like, well, I'd really like to place a chip seal. You kind of highlight, well, take a look at your rutting. Does this one really make sense? There is an effort underway through our planning department to kind of try to put together a prioritization tool. I'm trying to carefully recraft that as a project identification tool. I've got a little bit of feedback from our regions, and I think kind of Phil was kind of hinting at this, is that having central office come out and say, hey, County Road A, you should be doing a chip seal on this. This is what the black box said. Why aren't you doing that? But we're kind of we don't want to see it go to that level. I don't want to see it go to that level. But kind of as Jerry referenced, if we can at least develop a tool that can at least give a starting point that can identify particular segments in your network that you may or may not have been aware of based upon these different PMS data points, that your emphasis may be on, say, the trunk lines or the freeways, and you're letting that secondary system kind of start to fall off. This tool that we're developing can kind of help highlight that, hey, we need to put a little bit more attention, a little bit more dollars to that secondary system. So while we don't have a real fancy decision tree, there is a method that is out there based upon some criteria in a manual that we have, but really it does come down to putting a set of eyes on the pavement and using some experience and knowing how some of these treatments perform historically. That's kind of the Michigan perspective. Yes, sir?
Does Michigan still have the experimental products program?
We do have our emerging technology program in our CPM world.
Would that be incorporated into a decision tree then? So the new products and processes?
Again, it's not necessarily a decision tree, depending upon what it is. Say, for example, last year we did our first scrub seal. We were looking for a good candidate. We were working with our industry partners, kind of developed a spec, found a good candidate roadway, and developed test sections. We had control, and then we ended up testing 3 different scrub seal systems, whether it was a different aggregate or the emulsion itself that we use.
Just take maybe a minute and explain how that program works for new products and processes to actually get considered as something.
That is a very good question. So I guess the starting point on that one would probably be me as the program director, that if you have a new system, new product that you would be interested in. I know we are still in the infancy of trying to grow our new products, basically our new products procedure when we're introducing something. And so I've had a lot of vendors basically contact me, and if we I guess basically how I would foresee it going is that if you've got a product that you would like us to try, I guess I'd like to learn more about it. Contact me. Maybe we can set up a meeting and we can see if we can potentially get a demo. Maybe work on a specification. If we see that it would help serve a need that we have, we can try to set up a ET program. We have in my budget, I have a small piece that I can help give to a particular region that has a good candidate project that we can put the fix on. It's going to help cover the cost of it. Yeah, and we also work with our industry groups as well. So, I mean, if it's something in particular, concrete-wise or asphalt-wise, that it makes better sense to utilize them, to work with them to approach us on the fix, we can do that. Again, like the scrub seal, we've got our Michigan Road Preservation Association, MRPA, they kind of, through that joint effort, we were able to develop the scrub seal and put that project together. Any other questions? Good question, by the way, sir. Anything else? Coach Bill, you might have some comments?
Jerry asked me to talk real fast today because we've got some different ways. Missouri does not have a standard plan. There's just no other way to say it. We tried it. I stole Jerry's in 2013. I just told him I did that. And I tried to implement in our district, but we have a lot of pushback. And if you say words, they don't like it. So what do the districts do in Modocs? Well, there are 7 of them. They don't know we're here. And all of them with me are rural. So they all have area teams. So the way that we choose projects is they runs it. That gets all of our IRI data and all that data. They'll run it. And they'll spit out green on a map, green, yellow, or red. And so that will help the districts maybe to identify what areas are in trouble right now. Since 2012, when I joined the team, we've already had a preventive maintenance plan in place. So we have area teams, which includes construction materials, maintenance, and the area engineer and design. And all 4 of those people, there's a 4 leadership power, will work with me and Joe, the bridge person, to develop projects. And that's pretty much how it's done. So every single district in MoDOT does it differently. Now, as I was discussing with you earlier, there's a massive push for more transparency. So we are working with this pavement tool, which is basically, I don't know, like our view, that will put everything you're going to do on that tool. And so somebody in the legislature can go ahead and pick it and say, when are you going to work on this project? Immediately, I will tell you that will fall apart as soon as it runs in the end, because that plan always falls apart. So to refresh, MoDOT does not have a plan. We tried decision tree. I think it's a good idea, but it kind of puts you in the game. But when Parker here also agrees, the districts are not as excited when Jeff City comes down and tells them what to do. So I guess what I'm trying to say is MoDOT doesn't really have a plan, but I'd sure like to hear Illinois' plan, John.
Thanks, Bill.
I'm excited. John, thank everybody from Illinois.
Here's my new thumb drive.
Oh, very nice.
Since we started working on our TAMP several months ago, or years ago, so since there's five guys there, several years ago, we started working on decision trees to help our districts, and since we're decentralized as well, start coming up with better decisions for when to use pavement preservation, and even going into minor rehab, major rehab, and reconstruction. So, but right now what I'm going to focus on is our pavement preservation side of our decision trees. The initial decision tree is just to drop it into buckets. We're going to do pavement preservation on these, minor rehab, major rehab, and reconstruction. Everything in Illinois is initially based on CRS, which is our condition rating survey. Combines rutting, IRI, and cracking. We identify all the different cracks manually, and their severity and frequency, and that all gets lumped into one number. 9 is a perfectly new surface roadway, and then it goes all the way down to 1, which is basically impassable. So If we have a calculated CRS of 7.5 or above, do nothing. You're good to go. You can walk away, wash your hands of it. Then, as soon as we get into below 7.5 to a 5.5 on the interstates, that's preservation mode. The pavement's still in good enough condition that we can address this, and we don't have any structural deficiencies that are outstanding. Because we want to try and balance our dollars, on the non-interstate system, we took that level all the way down to 5.0. Half a point's not a lot, but you can notice it when you're actually driving down the road. Then on the other side, anything below 5.5 or 5.0 interstate, off interstate, respectively, goes into rehabilitation. And from there, we make the decision what type of rehabilitation it's going to be. So if you can go to the next. Okay, so this here is for our HMA surface preservation. I believe this is just for interstates. Can you roll down a little bit more? Yes. So the first question we get into is structural distresses, a lot like what Minnesota's doing. And then we go directly into our ADT questions. Our cutoff was about 30,000 vehicles. Because that's generally our cutoff for either a one-pass micro or a two. We wanted to limit what we were doing on our interstates to the higher type treatments. If we get above 30,000, and depending on the level of block cracking and Q, which is our longitudinal cracking, not in the wheelpass. By the way, we differentiate between longitudinal cracking in the center of the lane or outside of the wheelpass. So, depending on those levels of severity and frequency, we will either identify that a two-pass micro or a smart overlay, which would be 1.5 inches of surface, generally mill and fill, is appropriate. We've got hot in place recycling in there. It's new-ish to Illinois. One of our districts decided they were going to let 6 projects and not tell central office about it, but it's another story. Let's see. So for below 30,000, we can do, depending on the level of rutting, we can do rut fill and micropass or microsurfacing, or we can, if we get down into higher rutting, which we're looking at 1/4 inch as our cutoff for these here, we can get into ultra thin bonded wearing course and potentially just a single pass micro with no additional treatments. Let's go on to the next one for the non-interstates. This one gets a little busy because we're bringing in, we've still got microsurfacing on the table. We've got a single, a double, and a triple chip, which is all potential. Right now, Illinois is experimenting with fog seals over chip seals. I don't know why it's a new concept to us, but it is. So we set the ADT threshold at anything above 5,000 ADT, we're going to require a fog seal. Let's see here. We're experimenting with doing micromilling to help reduce some of our cracking distresses. We think that if we can micromill and reduce our severity of our cracks, that we can afford to do some different treatments. So we've also got, we bring in hold in place, we bring in cape seals. Illinois is not comfortable with placing a cape seal on the interstates yet. And also within bonded wearing course. But a lot of our decisions are based on the severity of our block cracking, our center of lane cracking, and rut depths. As you can see, our second question in this decision tree is the surface type. Illinois, in our semi-quasi pavement management system, identifies surface types as full depth HMA. We've got the 600 series, which is HMA over concrete. Now, you can, as a subset of that, you can have HMA over continuously reinforced, HMA over jointed, HMA over just plain concrete with no reinforcement. So we kind of broke out our decision trees based on what the actual pavement structure is, knowing that an HMA over a jointed pavement is going to see a lot more reflective cracking and therefore require either a chip seal or a tape seal, something to help minimize that reflective cracking coming back through. A 640, which is a CRC, we don't expect to see a whole lot of reflective cracking coming through, so we open that up to your microsurfacings and stuff like that. The concrete, the next one, if you want to go ahead and go down. The next one, which is concrete, this is more of a decision loop. We don't have a whole lot of bare concrete in Illinois. Generally, we ride it till it's dead and then we throw some HMA on top of it. So this is going to be something that's a little bit newer to us. Again, we're asking what type of concrete it is, whether it's jointed, CRC, and then we get into the distresses, whether it's got map cracking and joint issues. We're trying to get identify what's the actual cause of the problem. Illinois has got issues with decracking as well as ASR. So those generally throw any preservation out of the window right away. So I'm going to open it up to questions. Yes, sir.
If you're going to put micro over concrete, are you going to put a tag foot down first?
We will not put a micro over concrete. It'll be over an HMA surface concrete already. But yeah, we will not do micro directly on this concrete. All right, well, that was easy enough.
Maybe more of a comment, but you got one of my favorite treatments there, the half smart.
Yes, rather than a half done, yes. A half smart in Illinois is a 3/4 inch level binder with a chip seal on top. We have experimented with the reverse, doing a chip seal with a 3/4 inch level binder on top of that. But I guess it's not a level binder anymore. It's a thin line. So those are some of our options there. What's that? Yes, all of these are very drafts. Our districts are clamoring to get their hands on these, and we are reluctantly holding on to them. So, thank you guys.
I didn't make a copy.
Thank you.
No, I did.
Oh, thank you.
Minnesota's doing a micro mill on some of our surface treatments. And we're getting some really good initial results with the micro mill and a chip seal or micro mill microsurface, the micro mill for thin bonded wearing course. We're really getting some nice results. Actually on Interstate 394 out of heads west out of Minneapolis was built a little less than 20 years ago. So it was built under a lot of traffic, so a lot of tough construction issues, changeovers, crossovers, built relatively smooth when it was done. And then we, I think it was 10, 12 years after we did the first 1.5 inch mill and fill on 394, and they did a decent job. Reasonable well smoothness. Then just about 2 years ago, Metro Maintenance, where Paul Nolan came from before he came over to work in our office of materials, did a micro milling in ultra thin bonded wearing course on the interstate. And the smoothness is just fantastic. I think it's just slightly smoother or as smooth as it was when it was brand new. And here's another really, I think, good case of looking at the structural design. We do a 20-year easel design for pavements in Minnesota. We did the first 1.5-inch mill and fill, then the micro mill in ultra thin bonded wearing course. So we're at about year 18, and this pavement has pretty much been in good condition its entire 20 years. So we're really, I think, going to have some great options there as far as the use of surface treatments. Comment?
How can you measure that in your pavement management system to pull out these really effective treatments? Like you mentioned the micro mill and the ultra thin, is there some way you can track that?
So how do we get this data out of the pavement management system? So this one was really kind of project specific. I lost it. You want to repeat your question there?
Well, it had great ride for 18 years,
Yeah.
10 years or whatever. How do we track those things that are really beneficial like that? Can you do something like a ride year number? If we added up the ride number every consecutive year of a life after a treatment, you know, if it's a real high number, it's going to be really rough. We've got something you know good. If it's really low, then it highlights the treatments like you did this, make it more effective.
I'm not quite sure what we might have to come up with to do that, you know, ride quality per year or per cost type of thing. For some of the MnDOT projects where we've done micro milling, I think we got a 4-page document that I could probably find somewhere. So we've taken a look at the micro mill and chip seal, the micro mill, microsurface, and then the thin leg, and we started to follow some of the initial projects that we did. So we've got a nice kind of 4-page document that shows the ride quality of those. We're kind of coming up to about 1 hour for our discussion. I'd be happy to have any more questions or comments. Andy.
A couple of questions on the basket. How do you qualify the materials that are in your spec for the baskets right now?
Okay, so for the mastic materials in there, and I'm not sure how we got to the first 3 that are listed, which I think are the Dairy, the Crapco, and the Maxwell. I believe are the 3 products that are in there. And I think there's some that were on the maintenance purchasing type agreement. So we have the mastic construction special provision that says, you know, put it down like this. And because we haven't qualified the materials, we say use one of these 3 products.
But you'd install some through maintenance.
I think so, yeah.
And then there's an effort underway for an ASTM for testing of the combined mastic material. You know what the status of that?
So, yeah, Andy commented on ASTM testing of maskets, and I have not run across that yet.
Okay, I know that there's an effort underway right now. I'm just not sure where it is. The other thing, as far as the question that came up on evaluation, similar to what we would do on our concrete pavements, when we diamond grind, we evaluate how long does it take, how many years does it take to get back to that ride quality before we ground the pavement. And that's kind of how we determine the life of that.
Okay. So it's just about 1:45 right now. We only had a 15-minute break scheduled, so we're going to be short, but we'll come back at 2 p.m. At 2 p.m. in this room will be the flexible workshop. So if you're interested in all the hammer wheel, you can see in the program all the testing that we're going to discuss. In the other room will be the rigid workshop. So please reassemble at 2 p.m. Thanks a lot.